All right, welcome to the Clintonville Real Estate Market Update. I'm Ryan Deeter with Key Realty, and today we're diving into the Clintonville data that the Columbus, Ohio board puts out for us for the month of June as we sit here in mid to late July. The numbers always come a month later, so we're looking at these numbers in the rear so we can kind of help predict where the future is headed with the market. So, with that said, we're seeing some things that are pretty normal with summer market as we flatline and we start to head back down in average pricing and things like that. We start to come down a little bit and soften as we head into the fall market and then into winter when it bottoms out. So let me show you what I'm talking about here as we dive into the data and pull that up for you. All right, here's the data that the Columbus Ohio puts out for us. Again, you have access to this. If you'd like to find this, let me know. I can help you find it. If you'd like to have these for yourself. But let's dive into the number of sales closed because that's at the top. And so we see there's an increase of 21% from last year. So we had 47 this last year. Now we have 57. Now, it's a lot more, percentage wise is high, but this is a pretty low number for the Clintonville area. In fact, last month, this is actually making up for some of the abysmal numbers we had last month at 36. If you see here, this is May last month, which was almost down 50% year over year. So, obviously a certain area like Clintonville is a small enough pocket where, chance happens where we just have less homes available one month versus the next. Typically in May is, we see more houses close or hit the market. We actually, and more houses close in June. For whatever reason, it's not the case this year. Keep in mind this data is always, this is June data, which means that these homes typically were listed in May. It usually takes about 30 days to close. And if it actually has day until sale, that's 12. That's day until it's in contract. Usually takes about 20 to 30 days, maybe 40 if something comes up during the contract to close on a house. So most likely, most of these houses that are closed listed in the spring market from March to May, really. The majority of them probably in May, as we're seeing a 12-day average time before it gets in contract. So with that said, we had more houses listed in May, which obviously means that there's more houses that sold in June compared to April when we only had 36 homes sell. And unfortunately, May is kind of a little late in the game when it comes to spring market. It's not awful. You still can get good offers and great price, but things start to slow down a little bit in May. And I'm going to show you when you list in May. And I'll show you this right now because you see here the average price is 439, which is up year over year, barely, and then median sale price is up, quite a bit, but average price per square foot's down, which means that larger homes are selling for less, and the median homes are selling, there's more median home sales happening. So your average home and a good average price point are selling, faster and for more, where the higher end prices and the larger homes are taking a little longer to sell and getting negotiated down and not selling for as much as they did last year. Even price per square foot may be down. So you may actually not get as much as you would have last year for a higher end home, potentially. If you market it, or overprice it, maybe it's negotiated down and you're getting beat up a little bit because you overpriced it, thinking that you should price it 10 to 20, 10% more than what someone sold last year. You got to be careful on that right now. But let me show you last month when in May, the average price was 450. This month it's almost 440 essentially. And median prices this month was 431 and last month was 468. So you're seeing here month over month prices have softened. They've come down, meaning that, if you listed in May, you may have missed a little bit of the crazy market that happens in the spring. And so April tends to be the best time to list a house in Clintonville. For whatever reason, Clintonville kind of is a little bit early to spring market. So, March, April, I see tends to be a little bit better of a time to list your house than May. Now, you still can get a great offer in May. Don't get me wrong. It's just if you want the best offer and the best price and the highest price points, typically April is the time to do that. We get a little bit of a frenzy right around that April time. You just have to have a little bit more strategic and be a little more patient in May. And as we head into summer, that's even more true. As we sit here in June, you don't expect the offers you would have got in May, even though you're still plenty of buyers out there. There's still good buyers out there for good houses, and houses that need work are sitting a little longer and just take a little more time to sell. And or if you can do the work before listing, it's more important in the summer and in the fall than it is in the spring. So those are things to consider. And as we sit here, we're still seeing, I say that, but we're still seeing, the average home sell for over list. So don't think as a buyer, you're going to come in here and just, beat up every seller because the average home, and if the home pops up in the first weekend and, if it's priced, positioned well and in decent condition, it probably was is probably going to get over list price. Even though that's down from last year, you're still getting, average. This is the original price received. So it's still very much a seller's market here. We're just used to being such an extreme seller's market. When it becomes a normal seller's market, it seems almost like a buyer's market. Not quite the case. It's not in the favor of the buyer quite yet, and not even close, but there's still more advantage to the buyers than there has been in the last 6 months or last 6 years. Sorry. Um, and you're seeing here, and one of the reasons why you can tell is inventory. Inventory is always the biggest indication of who has the most advantage, buyers or sellers. When you have options as buyers, it gives you leverage. When you don't have options as buyers, you really don't have any leverage. You either want the house or you don't, and there's a mystery of what could happen next. And so with that said, inventory has risen, 27% compared to last year, but it's still at 1.4 months of inventory, which means that if no new houses hit the market, it would take a month and a half basically for all the houses to be gone and there'd be no houses left for buyers. Now, that's a really short time. A balanced market would be 3 to 6 months potentially when it comes to a balanced market. So we're getting closer to that, but still far away. And so that, again, we're in a seller's market still, but not quite as extreme as it has been. And a lot of it depends on the new listings. How many new listings do we have? That being up is going to be helpful for buyers to have more options, obviously. And so, in the future, what I would say the next few months as we head into the fall, late summer, fall, we tend to see a little bit of a surge like right before summer ends, as people want to be in a place settled, as they may have missed out in the spring and they took a little break over the main summer to travel and have fun. And now they're like, okay, let's get back in this. Sometimes we see that a little bit. We see kind of a bump up. Now I'm going to show you this graph here. This is the Clintonville numbers. Obviously, when you have such a small data point, that one house that's listed either underlisted or over in great condition or whatnot can really skew the data. So I like to look at when we're thinking about Clintonville, look at the market as a whole. It still reflects on average the Columbus area and the region. And as you can see here throughout history, throughout the months, sometimes we get a little surge right at the end of summer where, things tend to come down. This sun tends to flatline over the summer and then start to come down like we've seen this month. We've seen prices start to soften and come down. But every once in a while we get a little bump in the, early, fall season there, and then it continues down. So just depends what's going to happen here. What I would tell you if you're looking to buy, I would, if you want to buy in Clintonville, I would highly recommend being prepared as there's a little bit more opportunity than there has been in the past. But if you want to sell, understanding a strategy, understanding these numbers that you can't just put your house in the market anymore and expect a frenzy, expect a bidding war. You've got to position it well. You got to understand what projects are worth doing, what projects are not worth doing, because that's the worst thing you can do is spend money on projects that don't matter or use the wrong product for a kitchen countertop, for example. Maybe you use a yellow granite or something like that on a kitchen countertop, which is not in style anymore, instead of the quartz or, white and black. Potentially that may help sell the house, kind of understanding those trends is vital right now. You can spend $20,000 on the raw materials and actually lose money because it's a house where you spent money, so you price it accordingly, but no one wants to, buy it because it's not their style, and no one wants to redo it because it's priced too high. So those are things to think about, just making sure you don't make those mistakes as you list it in this condition in this season. If you're looking to list your house, you had to have a strategy and plan to get top dollar. Still possible, and we'll still see multiple offers if your house checks boxes for the buyers that are out there. There are less buyers than we've seen in the past few years, which is, it's why houses are sitting longer. It's why houses aren't selling for an extreme amount. We're seeing slowdown as a whole. We're seeing here, we had a pretty strong month last month. If you look last month, we saw actually pretty strong, really strong appreciation. So even with that, those double digits median price point, double digits average price per square foot, and 7 average price point, we are still only seeing very modest year to date growth. So that's where Clintonville here and the Columbus region as a whole is really, is taking a little bit more of I think, a correction in a sense that it's slowing down. It's not a, backwards correction. It's just a correction of a slowdown. And I think we have a few years of this, and then things will continue to rise once the economy and rates start to settle in, and we see people moving here for those jobs that are being created right now. They're not being filled yet, but they're being created and built. So once those start being filled, more people move into Columbus again. We'll start to see prices, I think, come up a little bit faster. Because again, real estate's not rocket science. It's based on supply and demand. buyer demand versus inventory. And as buyer demand goes up and inventory stays low, prices go up. Inventory goes up, buyer demand goes down, prices may soften or come down even. So we're seeing a lot of buyers just not in the market right now, like we've seen in the past, and that's causing prices just to stabilize a little bit, which is not a terrible thing if you're looking to buy. It allows you a chance to catch up, to save, and to be able to make a plan and prepare for a future purchase. So, with that said, if you're looking to make a move in Clintonville or just want to stay informed of the market, I would love to have a conversation with you. If you have any questions or want to know anything, want more data, want more information, want me to answer a question in these videos, please leave a comment, like, subscribe to this page. I do a Columbus market update and a Clintonville market update. If you want to know more about another area, I'm happy to talk to you about that as well. Let's dive into it, and I will see you next month.